In this video we're going to look at different types of intransitive verbs. Now we've already seen that intransitive verbs are main verbs that are not followed by a direct object, so not followed by a noun phrase which expresses a role player. Now within this category of intransitive verbs there are a number of subcategories. There are 4 different types of intransitive verbs. And the most straightforward are bare intransitive verbs. Now bare intransitive verbs are verbs that are not followed by any complement. So the verb itself is enough to form a verb phrase. It doesn't require anything inside the verb phrase. So these are things like Jane ran and John slept and Jeremy sneezed, and the verb just expresses the complete activity. You can of course say something like Jeremy sneezed violently. However, the violently here just tells you how he sneezed, and it's therefore an adjunct. You don't need it to form a verb phrase, although it can go in the verb phrase. A second type of intransitive verb are prepositional verbs. Now they are intransitive, but they're followed by a prepositional phrase. So, the subcategorization frame would specify that it's a verb with a prepositional phrase. So that's what's needed inside the verb phrase. So if you look at these examples, Mary looked, if you looked, looked at the picture, you look at something, and that's specified by the prepositional phrase. John went to the shop. Going is going somewhere, in this case to the shop. She walked down the lane. This is one of those verbs of movement, where you have movement along a path, and the path is specified by the prepositional phrase down the lane. Now, a third type of intransitive verb is an intransitive particle verb. Now, we haven't come across particles yet, and when you look at these examples, Mary looked down, Sue rang up, you see that the particles look like prepositions. Now the crucial difference, of course, is that they don't require a complement. So you don't, as with a preposition, you would expect a noun phrase or a prepositional phrase to follow it. You don't get that with particles. Particles and verbs, verbs with particles, they're really, you could write them as one word almost. So they're really compound verbs which have a verbal part and a particle part. So if you think about Sue rang up, what that means, it really, you could just say Sue phoned, and phoned means the same as rang up. So the up here doesn't actually literally mean up. Now Mary looked down is a little bit different because you do then have that path going downwards, but again it's one verb formed from those 2 parts. Because it's a compound verb, the representation is as in the tree that you can see here. So you've got a verb and a particle, which we write as part, together forming a verb, and it's that second verb, so the mother node verb, that's the verb that is the head of the verb phrase. Okay, well, the last type of intransitive verb is what we call copular verbs, and we've already come across them a number of times. And copular verbs are verbs that are followed by a complement adjective phrase or a noun phrase, but where the noun phrase is not a direct object because it's not a role player. And what copular verbs do is really couple a property with a subject. So you can say John is foolish, and foolish is the adjective phrase, is the copular verb here. So you're saying about John that he has that property of being foolish. Now you can also express that with a noun phrase, so you can say John is a fool. Now you've only got one individual here, John, and you say of him that he's got the property of being a fool. So although you've got a noun phrase following the verb, it's not a role player in the event. It just expresses a property. Now, there's a small class of copular verbs, and some other ones are given here. So you could say Bill seems nice. Yeah, Bill is nice. Bill seems nice. Your head feels hot. Your head is hot. Yeah. So in all cases, these verbs give you a property of the subject. You can see how copular verbs differ from transitive verbs. So if you look at this, Sue is a doctor, Sue knows a doctor. And when you talk about Sue is a doctor, you're talking about Sue, and you're saying of Sue that she has the property of being a doctor. When you say Sue knows a doctor, of course, then you've got two individuals, Sue and the doctor. Yeah, and so they are different role players in this situation. Yeah, so that knows in this case is a transitive verb, whereas is the copular verb. Okay, those are the 4 different types. Let's see if you can recognize them. So what about this one? In Mary yawned loudly. What is yawned? Okay, well, if you think about what it means, yeah, loudly, of course, is an adverb phrase, and it just tells you how Mary yawned, and that means that yawned is complete by itself, and therefore it's a bare intransitive verb. In that coat feels soft. What's feels? Now, of course, what it expresses here is it couples that property of being soft, or feeling soft, to the coat. Yeah, the coat is soft, the coat feels soft, so of course it's a copular verb. The message got across yesterday. Yeah. You know, another way of saying that is the message arrived yesterday, or something like that. Yeah, so got across. Here you've got a verb with a particle, so it's a compound verb, and so the whole thing is an intransitive particle verb. And one more. The skater slid across the ice yesterday. What have we got here? Now this is different to the across we just had, because here the skater slid somewhere. Where did he slide? And the answer is across the ice. Yeah? Another way of saying this is that you can move that whole stretch of words across the ice to the beginning of the sentence. So you get across the ice the skater slid. And that means that this slide here is an intransitive prepositional verb.